I listened to Frank Zappa, and he said that he didn't really listen to music growing up. Eddie Van Halen pretty much saying the same thing. I didn't listen to music growing up. So that, I guess the idea was is that for them they were trying to make sounds, and the music just was the result of adapting sounds, and they were not particularly into trying to sound like anybody else, and that's the reason why they were so unique, is that they were working with sound, they were not working with music. At least that's what I'm deriving from it, is that in order to create a new sound, you have to be concerned about the sound, not about the music. There are some musicians that are into chording, into making things, so like Billy Joel and Elton John, the guys that played pianos, you know. Eddie Van Halen knew how to play the piano. That was because of his upbringing. And when you play piano, you have access to all the notes to make all the chords, but you can't slide anything. And so you can't get you can't get sharper or flatter on the notes. And if you need to make something sound bright, you would want the things to go a little bit sharper on a note. And when you're singing, they talk about trying to keep things a little bit sharp, and that means bringing the note up from the mid part. It's not about singing the exact note. It's about singing it just a little higher in pitch, so that it doesn't, I guess, deviate down into, being uh, off key or something. But to keep your notes just a little bit sharper than normal. And Frank Zappa said he was really, what really did it for him was listening to um, the the musician that he attributes all of his success to. And I forgot what his name is. It's like Varese or something. He's an experimental musician, and Frank Zappa was really turned on by all the percussion that this guy was using. Um, Eddie Van Halen says that he stopped listening to Eric Clapton after he left Cream. He just wasn't interested in Eric. It was when Eric Clapton was with Cream that he listened to it. He said after that he just didn't listen to music. And so recently, or when it came out, but that was kind of like, you know. And so I guess the idea is that he doesn't. These guys are more into the making of the sounds and then trying to figure out how to make a song from the sounds that uh, inspire them. I can understand that a little bit. Whenever I program, I'm thinking about the little things that I learn and how to exploit them. Just as in this video game, when I learned about slingshotting, I was inspired to see what I could do with the slingshot technique. And I keep telling people this is OP to slingshot, and they're just like, they know what a slingshot is, they just don't exploit it. And I don't know, I think the universe gives you something to do, and you just exploit it. It's not like it's important, and some people do it for money, and others just like to do it. I don't know if it's true, or I've said before that I think this entire world is a falsehood. I don't believe this is the world I was born into, I'm getting the feeling that it's everything you know is wrong type world. But I'll just keep talking because who could be listening to me? Could it be somebody here in this world or in another world? Could it be the angels above? That's my disposition. I've got to just keep talking because it's the only way I'm going to remain sane is to keep talking, and that's how I get through this. It's not, and all the demons, all they ever tell you is nobody's listening, and I'm like, so what? I mean, that's your concern. That's not my concern. My concern is, I mean, to some degree, I would like the people to use my website. Like today, just yesterday, I was meeting with some people from the union of my grocery store, and they were there to give me a death and dismemberment insurance. Had me sign that out, and I told them what I do now that I'm unemployed, and I prefer to be unemployed. I manage this website, and then I tell them all the intricacies of it, and they're just like stone faced, just like they don't care. And the feeling that I'm getting is that the universe tells me, I don't care. I don't care. I don't care what you have to say. You're worthless. You're not, And I think it's a test. I think it's a test to see how far I will keep going regardless of what the universe thinks. Because I mean, what else do I have to lose? I mean, if I'm for me and I'm in support of what I do, it's probably best that I don't care what anybody else thinks. Because then I'm going to keep on doing what I believe turns me on. I'm going to keep doing it. And I think that's good to just keep on doing. My cousin Glenn, who is a painter, just said you got to keep doing it. And when Jesus talks about mustard seed of faith, that you keep walking, you can move mountains. Uh, well, it says with a mustard seed of faith, you can move mountains. For the longest time, I thought what he meant was that you just literally tell this mountain go from here to there. What he was really saying, I think, was get up every morning, walk, and the mountains move past you. You're moving mountains because you're doing it a little bit each time. And so to keep walking is the idea. You're falling and then you catch yourself. That's a little bit of a faith. You know, babies have to get up and fall forward, and they fall on the ground, and they do it several times until they've completely mastered the concept. And then their brains adapt, and their muscles that are controlled by the brain also adapt to the action, and you're able to develop the ability to walk. And walking, all it is it's a controlled fall. You're falling forwards, and your feet are catching you as you're falling forwards. And then over time, you're able to stylize that walk and become, do other things with it. And then you develop agility to make turns at just the right moments. And people think, how in the world am I able to dance and do all this other stuff and manage that? Your brain's is designed to adapt to the things that happen around you that tend to happen. And then over time, you're able to adapt to all sorts of situations. And that's what inspires people, I think. That's what inspires me, is the ability to adapt to any situation, such as in this game, any situation. And at this time of the morning, when there's like nothing else to do, um, probably at 6 or 7 is going to be the time that I'll be able to make. And it looks like I'm not on VS this time. I'm on NC. Um, this is when you possibly will make resource, and I desperately am in need of resource right now because I used a ton of it the other day. Resources, what you get resource whenever you hold a base, whenever you capture, and you can't really do it on the pretzel. The pretzel, you could if nobody else really cared about the stuff. I wish the whole map was open. The reason why they don't do that is because they don't want people to be like um, all over the map. And I'm like, why not? It isn't like you're going to keep the action going all day long. People are they need to sleep. They need to go to sleep and come back the next day. The rest of us need resource. And we need to be able to use that resource in the day. But if everybody is like working full throttle all the time, then you're not going to have people being able to get resource to be able to use it the next day to benefit anyone. And I just don't think they have a complete concept of what makes this game successful or not. But then again, I keep saying this whole world's a falsehood, and so I can understand why people are stupid. Um, it's my perception that these people don't learn anything. They're not even real. They don't exist. That's the feeling. And the more that people are able to reciprocate and use your style and able to learn from it and improve the game, that's when you know you're in the right world. But whenever nobody improves their game and they always play the same way and they ignore you, you know you're in a falsehood. You know that everybody's a lie. The whole world's a lie. The fact that we voted for Donald Trump, that was a lie. This is all a lie. And the only truth that I have here is the stuff that I know is true, such as from the Bible, and the experience and understanding that I develop over time is true. But it seems like anytime I look at a documentary or somebody talking about music or something, I don't know if I can believe it. I'll learn it, and I'll say this is what these people did, and if it sounds plausible, I'll latch onto it. But I don't know how true it is. It could be a complete falsehood. You just the thing about information from the world is that you don't live your life by it. You so if people tell me to go out and buy uh, something because it's going to be rare someday, I will not believe it. I won't go out and buy anything just because it's going to be rare someday. I don't invest time in trying to develop a persona because people try to do that to become famous. But what if this is all a falsehood and you never, no matter what you do, nothing you ever do will ever be accepted. Nobody will care or be concerned or even be aware of you. That's the end game of all of this, is that it starts out that you're trying to do something in the world. And on the end of it, you have it all taken from you. And the 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 test is to see if you will commit suicide. If you will, are you willing to put up with losing everything, and are you able to keep yourself together in the end of it? And I think I can, because there's a lot of things that inspire me that keep me walking each day. And that's the idea, is to keep walking. The things that inspire you, whether it be, I know that there was this lady that was talking about, and I guess the truest things and things you hear from people that are down and out. I'm not hearing anything true from celebrities that really concerns me. I used to be in the old days, I would really be concerned about what celebrities had to say. These days, the things celebrities say tend to be more mystical and not something you can really develop any truth from. It's like they don't have any reason to be logical. The people at the bottom, the people that are homeless, and like Mark Horvath's Invisible People, there was a lady that was living under a bridge in Seattle, and she said that how she got through each day, she'd get up and she would look for the most perfect, most beautiful thing in nature that she could find. She would find the most perfect leaf, and for her that was inspiration enough to get her through her day. That's kind of, I think, how it is for everyone. They every day's got to be about something, and that gets them through the day. It might be a victory. It might be that you're just, I don't know, you learn something new. Yesterday it was coming out to my mom and letting her know that I was wasting money on OnlyFans. And she turned around and she said, or she said, no, no more of that. No more of that foolish spending money. And I said, oh, now I really see it now. That everything I spend my money on is foolishness. That was her perception. And I said, you don't realize it, but I was spending money on those porn stars or the people that were showing up naked on OnlyFans because they're trying to get through their lives. And this is just another form of income. But it did not hit her ears anywhere. And she's more concerned with the things that, like people who are really poor and the very bottom, of our society. Not people that are transitioning from being beaten by their husband. They're trying to come up with some sort of income by which they can have the life they want, which is to start a family, which is what a lot of these porn stars end up doing. Some of them have families and they disappear. Um, they figure out some way to disappear out. They understand that when they put makeup on, they become the porn star, but if they don't have the makeup on, you would not be able to recognize them. And so once they realize that they can do something like that, I guess, then they can become a porn star, get the money, invest it, start a family, whatever, and then they disappear and you never see their face again because you don't know what they look like without the makeup. It probably is what drives it, is that they go out into the world and they don't see anybody like saying, oh, you're such and such or you're such and such. um it probably doesn't happen, and so as a result they probably figured out that this is okay, they can get through this okay. But they might become a recluse, or they just wear some sunglasses. They figure out some way to disguise themselves, because that's important. If you're to ever get famous, the worst thing about being famous is being recognized. Because then once you're recognized, then you're badgered all the time, either one way or another about your persona, and you probably would like just to have time off and be away from who you are on screen. And I think that's the reason why celebrities live in New York, is because in New York you walk down the street and see about 100, 200 people that all look like celebrities. And it's a great way to great way to pretty much become invisible. But the thing that's funny is that celebrities so much desire to be invisible, And the invisible people in Mark Horvath's world, they're automatically invisible. They're not. They don't have money. They don't have the fame. They don't have something to rely on to get them out of the slum. So they're automatically invisible, and the celebrities are desiring to be invisible because they don't want to. They don't want to. They want to be able to live their lives in privacy and not like really have any relationships with people because um, they come to the realization that some people are fake. That the world that they're around is kind of a falsehood. Just the way that I see the world is, nobody really cares about me, so I'm invisible. Is probably for my own good that I'm invisible. But for celebrities, the desire to be invisible um, is is great. Some of them hang on to their fame. They want the fame because it's like love, such as Crosby. I think Karen Carpenter probably relied on her celebrity because she wanted to be in front of maybe an audience, and then it was ruined because somebody said she wouldn't have that audience, possibly because of her looks, and that's probably what drove her to lose weight, crazily. Um, but there's some people. I think the group Kiss benefited greatly from not um, from when they took their makeup off, nobody knew who they were. The makeup permitted them to separate themselves from their characters on stage from themselves. That's the whole purpose of glamour rock, is to be something different on stage than you are in real life. And when you're off stage, you're not the person that you are on stage. Just like David Bowie isn't Ziggy Stardust, and you know, and Debbie Harry is not Blondie, and you know, it's, it's something they would leave on stage so that they can go ahead and be normal off stage. Daft Punk, nobody who knows who these guys are. Um, uh, Studio Killers, nobody knows who Studio Killers are. You can't even tell if the lead singer is a female or a male. Um, that is, I think, what a lot of musicians, if they ever got popular, would want, is the capacity to not have to create. I mean, some musicians, like Britney Spears and what's her name, those girls like Lady Gaga and I can't even recall her name, the one that's about California girls, and you know Perry. Um, those guys are developing styles, and they like it because they're girls, and girls like style, and they like looking certain ways. They like exhibiting all the various sorts of styles that they can produce. Because when you got money, you start wanting to develop the fashion and develop fragrances and stuff, because you're trying to find other things to express yourself in terms of looks. Guys don't give a shit. Um, I personally don't give a shit about. I mean, I love their looks. I love the way girls look, and I love that they're into that. But we're not. We're not really that concerned about perception. And the reason why they're concerned about perception is they don't have enough. People don't respect women enough, and their concern becomes more about people's perception of them because they get abused. I think it's awful, and that's the reason why I take my money and I throw it at these ladies on OnlyFans, because I can't imagine how many of them are getting abused. Because I've heard the statistic that 1 in 5 are raped. I can't imagine how men treat women, uh, how they can even treat women the way that that would um, diminish who they are. That cause them to go out and do porn. You don't see very many men in porn. It's usually women, and the men tend to be stars above the stars because the women need somebody to interact with. They don't interact with a different man each time. They always interact with the alpha male porn star, and like Rocco Siffredi, and that guy has been in porn for like 40 years, 40, 50 years or something. I mean, he's older than me, and he's still active. And those guys are just like, they're, I mean, they're basically just a pretty face with a dick. And they have to come, I guess, be something a bit more than that, have some style, try to create scenarios, maybe do some acting. But at the very basic level, they're like some of the other guys that are just kind of like, you don't see them, or you see them and all they do is just fuck sluts. Um, us fappers, we don't really care. We're just there to see the action, see people having sex. And, I mean, it's really sad that people will say that, you guys are a minority. The truth is there's a lot of people fapping, and there's a lot of people having sex. I'd say not 10% of them are actually open about who they are, about sexually who they are. 90% are afraid, are fearful that anybody would ever find out what kinds of what kinds of what do you call them, fetishes they have. There are some really crazy sexual fetishes out there that I didn't even know were considered sexual fetishes, such as people setting fire to things, people that enjoy seeing stuff squished, seeing people squished. There's some crazy ass psychological stuff out there that people enjoy. That there are people that enjoy it. Like seeing cars crushed, things ripped apart. By grinders, and there are people that enjoy junk like that. And then there's probably the same people that listen to heavy metal. For me, the only thing that excites me is to see all the emotion and all the emotion that goes through a woman's face. That's what attracts me. That's what gets me off. It's to see all the emotion in a woman's face. And faces are pretty much all I really need to get off. I see all the beauty and all the different configurations of a woman's face, and I get off. If I was to ever have a relationship with a woman, I'd probably lose that, because then I would be looking at her and she'd be concerned about me looking at her. I get off on seeing all the various configurations and expressions of women. Women, usually beautiful women, but as you get more into looking at stuff and you're fapping off, and the reason why you're fapping in the first place is because you get dopamine release in your brain, and it's really there to encourage you to go out and have sex and create and produce children and start families. But people look down upon it if you're just fapping because it's so easy, and it creates the desired effect. Well, which would you rather have, me fapping or going out and getting little vials of cocaine? Because it's the same thing. The difference is one's a little more disgusting and will shock people. The other you can do and nobody ever sees it, you know. But the other one is destructive. Fapping pretty much is healthy. Um, then there are people that do heroin. If you go and look at the documentary about Go-Go's, they're all doing all sorts of drugs, and I had no idea. They said they were the first girl band with their own music and stuff, and they're doing drugs. That's how they got to that place, is by doing lots of drugs. And that, what that says to me, is they've got a lot of social anxiety. They're probably, I don't know if this is the case with women, but I can imagine that they probably are not really sure if people are going to be accepting of them. In order to cope with that, they take drugs. Probably to get away from the persona and the fame. Probably because it's always just been about who they were before they ever got famous, that they did a lot of drugs. You know, they were talking about their drummer having was going to have a heart operation, and they said they'd give her everything. They would permit her to take mushrooms, anything that wasn't going to be hard on her heart. I don't know if mushrooms. I think if you were going to hallucinate, you might hallucinate something that's bad. That's going to be not good for your heart, because anything that's going to cause your heart pressure to go up, your blood pressure to go up, your heart rate to go up, is going to hurt you. So I guess they kept her away from the amphetamines, or they kept her away from drugs that accelerate your heart rate and keep you awake. But they came about during a time whenever the law enforcement really wasn't controlling drug use, and that was back to the 70s. And if you think about it, a lot of our best music came out in the 70s and 80s, early 80s. When musicians have no problem finding drugs. That it's not just the music business, it's just the fact that musicians all tend to be into it. It's not hard for them to find a musician who knows where to get it, you know. And drugs are necessary, I guess, to be creative, because you're probably trying to get rid of a lot of your skeletons, so you can focus on just being entertained by your playing and coming up with ideas and stuff. You know, what I do is I make myself open to everybody about everything. I have no intimacy. My intimacy is open, and in that I'm permitted to do whatever the heck I want. Probably, I was more creative whenever I was desiring for people to accept my stuff, but now I'm less. I'm less. I don't really have any reason to show anybody anything, so there isn't any incentive for me to go out and create stuff that maybe would inspire people. I think the only thing that I do now that might inspire people is the way I talk and the things I talk about. And there are a lot of people that say, well, nobody cares. And I'm like, well, that's just your perspective on what everybody cares about. And there are people out there that probably think I care, and which I do, and also care about what I have to say. And I think they're angels. I think really the people that are really listening to what I'm saying are angels. I don't think there are any really real humans. Maybe there are, but I get the feeling that the humans are no longer in my world, and that the only people that will listen to me are angels. And so that's my, there are the ones, there's the angels that have no interest in what I have to say, and then there are the angels that really are inspired by things I say. They really, and I know they're there because they come into my world and they exhibit themselves and they play with me, and I mean they glow around me, um, and and every now and then I get a message from somebody else say, I like what you have to say. But it's usually somebody that just pops in and pops out. I never see them again. Those are angels. They can't really develop a They can't develop a personality because they're they're um they're they're designed to praise God. They'll every now and then they'll come in and they'll say thank you, and I think that the reason why they do that is because somehow I've inspired them, or they desire to inspire me. And I don't know where my words come from. All I can imagine is that maybe God pops in and throws a word into my brain, and I just end up uh, contemplating it, and then some day later I just spurt it out in my message, and then some of the angels pick up on it and they go, "Whoa!" They don't know where it came from. I don't know where it came from. It's probably from God. It's probably the way that God likes to reveal things to the angels, you know. Because even though the angels know how to satisfy God, they don't know all that God knows. And so when they get something that's really inspiring, they go, whoa, and God's like, hey, you don't know where that came from. I'm fine with that. I think that's what's happening, you know. Every now and then it is Satan that comes through, and it has to slap me down. But I know I'm probably not getting very much listenership, but I'm figuring, I'm kind of like a wolf man Jack, to the angel world. And then other people are really listening to this and said, this guy's crazy. And I said, well, you have to be crazy to keep talking. I mean, if you look at crazy people on the street, what are they doing most of the time? They're talking. That's how they're getting through their world. You think they're crazy because they're talking to themselves. But they need that in order to be human. If it weren't that, then they'd be schizophrenic and the voices would be in their head and they wouldn't be talking at all. It would be in their head that the talking was occurring. You have to, everybody, I think, though it says that we were designed for praise, I think we were designed to have a connection with other people in the world. But without that connection, you end up having the connection with yourself. And you discuss in your head things. You either do it sanely by yourself, knowing that there aren't multiple personalities, but then you're just saying stuff and then listening to it and working on it, working in the moment, which is how I work. Or you're going to be talking to hear, or you're going to have separate personalities, which is scary. Because people that usually get multiple personalities are people who have been abused. Because that's when the brain can't adapt. The person is so stressed out, and the brain knows that stress is dangerous. So what it'll do is it'll generate selves. It'll generate identities. And those identities will take on all of the torture that person goes through from another, say a parent or whatever, that they're always getting beat. If they can't take that, if they can't handle it, they get overstressed. I'm sure that's probably when the brain decides, okay, we need to develop multiple personalities, and the personalities will take all the torture, and then when everything's normal, the main personality can come out and be themselves. But the way people who have multiple personalities describe it is that when things happen, they just black out. They're not there. The personalities are. The brain adapts to protect the person. Anyhow, I'm going to save this as a clip.